back to the kitchen. You were here with Team M.A.D, Wrestling in the building with your man Twitch for Life, MrBroadcast, and author Yves. And today we're talking about, just some concerts, some movies, and the state of the industry.
There we go.
Boom. I've never been to a concert.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been to a concert.
You've been to no concerts?
I've never been to a concert, no.
Like, why?
I don't like big crowds of people. I don't do Mardi Gras. I don't do Halloween because I don't like big crowds of people. I'm cool with 4 or 5 people and stuff, getting together and all that. I like groups of people, but I don't like crowds.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I can get that.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been in the club with me before.
Yeah.
Right? And you seen me completely get paranoid about people around me once the alcohol wore off.
I was gonna say, yeah, up until while you had that juice in your system, you were set.
I was good.
Yeah,
I was good. It was a hand grenade. I was feeling non-toxic, and as soon as that hand grenade wore off, somebody was about to get swung on because they was too close. You're too close, man. That's how I felt the whole night. And this dude kept bumping into me. And I don't know what it is about people and bumping into me while I'm at clubs.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird, bro.
Oh, yeah.
When I was in Atlanta, the same thing happened. Right? I ended up putting my finger on this dude's forehead and dared him to take my finger off his forehead because he kept bumping into me. It was one of those moments where everybody was like, is he punking him? Or I was like, Jesus. But then 4 or 5 people around me at the club had 40s in their hand, and I was just like, I'm not going to escalate this because somebody, we from New Orleans. They don't sell 40s behind the bar in New Orleans. In Atlanta, they sell 40s. They feel like it's a safe place. So I'm like, they already double checked me when I walked in the club and they seen my Louisiana license. The dude literally said, pat him down twice. So they already know about us. I'm not those kind of people, but they know about us. That's all I'm saying. So I was like, you know what? Let me not escalate the situation. Yeah. So with that, no, I've never been to any concerts. I know they kind of buzzkilled y'all a little bit. I'm sorry. I don't have nothing to talk about. I have no experience.
What about you? What about yourself?
You've been to a plethora of concerts.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of concerts though? Everything.
Yeah.
Been at Essence.
Everything, dude. Outside of working for the production company, that
true.
in itself, and then just all the stuff that I've done personally. Large, small, medium, intimate, expansive.
So in your opinion, what are the best concerts to attend?
I think it really just depends on your feel. I think it's more than just about the genre of music as far as your flavor of feeling on what makes a concert for you. An example is B just saying he doesn't like crowds. There's people who, I don't want to go into the Superdome for a concert, but I'll go to Tipitina's. I'll go into the Foundation Room in a very intimate setting, where somebody like Prince and Tina Marie, who could have played a sold out crowd, will do an intimate setting at Tipitina's. It ain't nothing. And only have 100 people in that room because that's what they like to do. And it's just as joyous a concert. I just went to the IP Casino and went to see Brian McKnight play on Saturday night. It was awesome, man. It was 200-300 people in there. The way it was set up, where our spots were, any place you sat, even the forest location, you were still only about 150 feet from the stage.
That's dope.
And I don't know what that looks like.
And he interacted with the crowd constantly. There was call and response, sing-alongs. He made jokes. He was funny. He introduced his band was into it. It was an experience. And I think that's what when it comes to going to concerts, I would say is the most important thing. It's what that experience is for you. Like, I'll give a couple of examples.
Wait, I've been to 2 concerts.
Okay. Tell us about this. I'll remember my statement. I want you to, while you're in the moment, you go for it.
I went to 2. One of them was Essence Fest in like 2006 or something, and the other one was like Jazz Fest 2008, I think. Whatever it was, I seen Frank Ocean. Now, both of these things I went to, I had VIP tickets to. So in Jazz
you
Fest,
got to be separate.
yeah, I got to be separate from everybody,
Yeah.
which is why I went.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was like, I've never been to concerts. Think about the concert experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to Essence Fest, I was in the Shell Oil Suite. So we had catering and all of that stuff in there, and it was only like 10 people and like 30 seats, right? At Jazz Fest, we had the mayor's passes, so we got to sit like behind the stage and stuff.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right? It was all right. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really like the whole concert thing. You know what I'm saying? I was, the only one I remember was Frank Ocean. You know, the Frank Ocean. And Frank Ocean was pretty cool. He pulled a big crowd. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was far more interested in the front of house engineer and what he was doing and the setup of the entire, like the full rigging setup and everything than what was happening in the concert. So I really didn't hear what he was talking about, what he was singing or anything. I couldn't tell you, right? Because I was paying attention to completely different things from everybody else. When I was at Essence Fest, that was it. No, the Jazz Fest was in 2013. I'm sorry, it was 2013 because I just came back from Full Sail. Anyway,
I was gonna say, why were you interested in?
yeah, it was 2013. The Essence Fest was long before that, and you know, I remember seeing like Jill Scott and Music Soul Child, right? And I loved their music. I just didn't like it during the concert because it sounded like trash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's a big auditorium and the sound bounces off of everything, and I'm like, in my mind, and I told my mom, I was like, hey, it's like, why do people come to things like this? Like, it sounds better on a CD. You know what I mean? And it's like, why would you go to the concert? Like, I didn't understand it. So because of that, you know, I never wanted to go to concerts. Like, I still don't want to go to a concert. I'm like, but it sounds better when I listen to it on like Spotify or whatever. Why would I want to go? Like, number one, I don't like the energy from the people. Like, I don't want to be around the people because I don't like crowds, right? So like that part is dead for me. And then number two, it sounds like trash if you're not where the front of house engineer is. You know what I mean? So outside of that, I'm just like, there's nothing in it for me. Why would I pay for that?
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you feel about it. So a concert doesn't work for you, where you know, others enjoy that feeling of the crowd, and they're not looking at it from the same perspective you are, because they're not thinking about the front of house engineer. Like, they're thinking about the entertainer. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's what people go to concerts for.
Yeah, I can understand. I can understand why other people go to
Yeah.
concerts. Like, I can appreciate why you would like the experience, right?
You know,
I'm just saying I don't.
I'm saying, like, for me, like, that's where it's like, for me, I prefer more of the intimate setting concerts than the larger setting concerts because it's intimate, it's interactive. There is that sense of I'm in the same experience with the entertainer compared to just being a mass of numbers. Like, so I totally get what you're saying, like, from your perspective. Like, so my perspective is I prefer smaller, intimate, 200 or 300, maybe 400 crowd size people instead of 60,000 crowds for me.
So let me ask this question just for clarity, right? Because you were saying smaller, intimate concerts. Like, I don't really know what that means, but like, do you consider like cover bands like on Frenchman or Bourbon Street to be concerts? Yes. You consider those to be concerts?
If the sense of what it depends on what the essence of that night really is.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a difference in I'm performing tonight with some songs, like Floetic Cypher, right? That's Floetic Cypher. Compared to saying, okay, we're going here because MrBroadcast is performing a show specifically for the audience that is attending to see him perform.
Well, in that regard, like cover bands are performing a show.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Like, if the cover band is specifically being there as I'm going to see this specific cover band to perform. Whereas, like I said, the difference of that than going to a Floetic
So
Cypher.
the definition of the concert is based off the viewer, not the band in that regard. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Also, it depends because I mean, you have, for example, you have like house bands that'll play like a bar, and I would not consider that a concert.
Okay.
But then you've got
So is it about notoriety?
kind of, it's about people going there to see the performer. If the performer is performing and their name is on something that shows that they're performing,
If they're a featured act.
yes.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's what I'm
That'll
saying.
be-
Like,
that'll
it's the
be-
difference in
okay.
saying I'm just showing up at the Floetic Cypher
I
to do
got
compared
you.
to saying, tonight MrBroadcast
Right.
is performing.
They didn't just grab the spot, but they have, it was promoted and it was,
Even the Floyd Cypher on a level, I would say that's a concert. Like
Yeah.
your girl Bobby Ray is playing.
Well, that's
like,
what I'm saying.
If
Yeah,
I'm going
Bobby
to see
Ray,
Bobby Ray,
right.
I'm like, that's a concert.
Yeah, she's the feature,
And that would
actor.
be an intimate concert.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's a kind
Well,
of
okay. If that's where the definition lies, which is why I was getting clarity. I've been to plenty, right? Because I do like going like Bourbon Street and Frenchman Street and watching the cover bands and sitting down and chilling.
who's the group that I forgot what they're called. They do the it's a jazz like ensemble.
So
But it's
Rebels?
like, is
Hot
that
8 Brass Band.
that sounds more like
I've
your boy the
definitely seen
trumpeter
Soul
can
Rebel
hold like
before.
a legit 3-minute note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
See, that would be a concert.
That's a
so
concert.
Like, so like at I can't think of it. But that's what I meant by when I said like Tina Marie
I'm
and
over here
Prince
thinking like Woodstock.
going to. But that's what I say. Like
that's a
Prince,
festival.
For as much as Prince will play a
Woodstock,
big arena,
yeah.
he comes and play. He used to come and play Tipitina's, which holds 150, 200 people, an intimate spot setting where.
See, I wouldn't go to that. There's too many people in there.
Okay, so I'm asking. So what is your? Is it 50 people? Like, 20, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. Because like,
So
Here's why I say you would go. It's because you've gone to opening night at movies, and it's no different.
I've only done that like twice,
But you've done it.
and I hated it, which is why I go to the movie theater on Tuesdays
Okay, fair.
at 1 p.m.
But take that, you know, that crowd, that type of thing,
Yeah,
and
freaks me
then
the fuck out.
have a stage instead of a screen.
Yeah, that freaks me out. That's why I don't go to opening nights on movies unless like Lance drags me out. Like we did the Black Panther thing
Sensitive.
because that was like we did it as boys. You know what I'm saying? That was cool. But like as a choice to make by myself,
Well,
the movies are going to release on Friday. I'm going to see it on Tuesday.
you'd never go to a. I mean, realistically, most people don't go to a concert by themselves. Like that's not something.
I do a lot of stuff by myself, so I don't know
Yeah.
where people do things with other people. You know what I'm saying? I go to dinner by myself, movies by myself. I'm comfortable with me. I like me, so
That's-
I go
yeah,
places
yeah.
with me. You know what I'm saying?
But I think that's
Take me on a date.
so. Whereas you don't really like to do concerts, it sounds like. And then the two that you said initially, those are festivals.
True.
Those are like a series of concerts
Okay.
all to put together. And MrBroadcast like smaller, intimate crowds. Like
for concerts,
for concerts.
Like I'll do Essence Fest.
Yeah.
Because I can pick and choose from the main stage to the smaller lounges and stuff like that. And then for me, Essence Fest also has a connection because I think we've kind of side talked about that. I've become very good friends with Estelle. So when she comes in town for time, I go there to see her perform or hang out with her and her crew and stuff like that and go into the lounge and stuff like that. And I love the lounge because it's a little bit more, and I know it comes back from my Floetic background and poetry, stuff like that. I'm into that intimate setting, that really reaching out to the crowd, calling a response like that. Again, you know, but definitely one of my top concerts ever, you know, showing that level of age again is, you know, the Jackson 5 Michael Jackson tour back in the 80s. You know, I saw that at the old Dallas Arena, you know, and that's a big ass stadium. You know, it was a big ass stadium, but that was one of the best concerts I've ever been to because no matter, again, for as big of a stadium, you felt you were still right there. Like the energy was high, what you felt. I mean, but you're dealing with a family of entertainers who knew how to get everybody in every seat involved.
That's,
you know,
I kind of wish I was around as a young cat when like Parliament and Funkadelic were doing their thing. Like that's That's a concert I really like. Wish I could go to.
I will tell you, like right now, my White Whale concert is Earth, Wind, and Fire. Dude. I have still not been able to, for
good.
so many reasons, either deployment, natural disaster, whatever like this, has kept me from making when I have had a plan to go to an Earth, Wind, and Fire concert.
So Earth, Wind, and Fire stopped him from seeing Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Exactly. That's what I said. That is my white whale of a thing because it's always been something that has kept me. I was like, oh, boom, come. Oh, no.
So that's kind of like one other reason you would go to see a concert is for groups like Parliament or Earth, Wind, and Fire, is because what they're playing there has never and will never be recorded. It is completely. I mean, they've got their songs, they got their set list.
Sure.
But and especially with Parliament Funkadelic, like I've seen Earth, Wind, and Fire, they're great, but they kind of stick to their set list, whereas Parliament will they'll have a couple songs and then they'll vibe for like 5 minutes in between each song, and that's where I want to be. That's where they're just vibing and playing like riffs here and there, and they're kind of building things. They're playing with sounds and like.
The only reason I wouldn't want to be in that crowd is because everybody's doing crack cocaine.
Oh, definitely.
And
I get the crowd situation, but there's sometimes when something about that feeling also, like if you're empathetic in any way, you'll get a little bit of that high from the crowd, even if you're not
any of it.
Even if you're not.
And I think me having that empathetic thing.
I think that's you.
I just don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it at all.
Something about it is overwhelming, but like in the right way. That's why like some of my favorite concerts, aside from like your jazz and your improvising.
Okay.
Oh,
I was going down the list in my head.
You got me.
I'm looking at you and I'm
you
like,
got it.
What's the other one?
You're right there with me.
Yeah.
Aside from like improvisational types of music, jazz. I mean, I will always go to a jazz show just because that's new. You actually get to see the skill of the artist when they're doing something.
That was the other one I saw.
Yeah.
Aside from those types of shows,
like Preservation Hall.
Yeah. There are some shows that you have to be there to get the full experience. For example, Pink Floyd did The Wall out here a couple years ago, and they've been doing it, but being in that stage, you're in a stadium and you're watching them build the wall behind them as they're singing, and there's inflated pigs flying through the air above you. This is a production, and that is the other reason you'd go to see a concert. It's because the production is just so. It is a show. It's music. It's also a crowd you're vibing off of, but it's definitely something worth going to. I went to Kanye once. That was something else too, because he did his whole thing flawlessly, like lights and the whole like stage was moving around, and then no joke, for 20 minutes he sat there with like a soundtrack in the background and with his auto-tune on his voice, and he just like
made up shit,
riffed on like the state of America. And while it was, I mean, he is batshit crazy, but it was entertaining. And that was something, the words that came out of his mouth never came out in that order ever again. Like that was a one time. You had to be there to experience that. That you'll never get on a CD. So that's kind of why I think some people prefer a concert as opposed to the CD. You can listen to the CD 100 times and it'll be the same 100 times. It's kind of why some people like records, because you listen to a record 100 times and it's different every 5 times, or just because it
gets used.
It corrodes, or not corrodes. Derodes, yeah. So there's something about that, fluctuation in the experience that you get when you go to especially a good concert. I think like these festivals and stuff, there's just something about that you've experienced with a certain group of people that will never be experienced that way ever again.
And that brings me back to my pen, my little imaginary proverbial pen. I realized in this moment talking why I love intimate concerts so much when I made the comment about Preservation Hall. My great-grandfather, Ernie Cagnolatti, played trumpet at Preservation Hall for many years. Matter of fact, he played the Kentucky Derby. He played trumpet at the Kentucky Derby for 23 years straight. He was the trumpeter for the Kentucky Derby. But, growing up, my grandmother would take me with her to go drop him off and pick him up because he lost half his left leg. So, he was in a wheelchair bound. And, Preservation was down in the corner. It was not just parking and stuff. They wasn't nice to folks with handicaps now they are now. In the sense of being able to get around and finding good parking and stuff like that. So I would always go with her to pick him up. And of course we get there early because once everybody's going out, it's hard to get in there. So I would sit there in this intimate setting, nights upon nights with her, listening to him play, watching his crowd reaction, watching his college front. And that's what tailored and built me to the entertainer I am right now. And the expectations I get for my surroundings and what makes a great concert in my mind. Not only when it comes to, from the musical standpoint of the importance of the live instruments and the understanding and the working with each other who's in the band, but how to relate and to react and work with the crowd in your setting as well, and to get them involved, to make them feel a part of the band, came from that for me because I was there. I was watching. I was seeing what he was doing. I was seeing how the crowd reacted to him playing and the other band members. And that has been etched into me to my sense of where I want to be and how I react to what I want to see.
Right.
From that. So that's why those intimate settings for me are more inviting. That's why when I look at concerts or looking at tickets, I don't look at my seating arrangements to a la because of price or I want to show I'm big though. I'll look at it because I, in my mind, envision this is where I'm sitting. This I can see this I can see that. Because that's how I view it, so.
It's kind of like how we were having this conversation yesterday, I think, when we were talking about miking the band set up on a stage. And you were talking about how when you're engineering for a stage, or when you're mixing for a live band on stage, you mix the instruments depending on where they are on that stage. Mm-hmm. So for anybody in the seats, where they're looking, they're hearing that sound. Mm-hmm. Or even if you were to record that, and I think something extremely powerful is when you've recorded something from a live show, and you can tell, even not being there in place, but when you're listening to it after the fact, you can tell where the instruments are.
Well, that's the reason it's called a stereo image.
Yeah. Like that's powerful.
You're supposed to be able to see it.
That's powerful. If you could, if that was like the norm, I know it's not, but if that was the norm, that would be that next level. Mm-hmm. Like being able, it would be.
Tell them to hire me. I'll do it.
Right. Like, that's kind of the thing. It's like, it's not the norm now, but that could be the next level.
Everybody wants a live performance to sound like a studio mix, and it's not.
See, that's not
it.
The point is for it not to sound like that.
Yeah.
The point is for it to sound like a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like you're sitting there in the crowd and listening to something,
right.
Listening to somebody's skill put out there.
I don't want it to sound like a CD. You buy the CD for that. I understand this, mm-hmm. even though I don't like concerts. Mm-hmm. I understand this, and I understand the live experience, right? And I appreciate it. Right. If I'm sitting in the engineer in the front of house box for a concert, I don't mind it. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I'm not affected by any of the people. And I don't vibe with them. I vibe with the sound.
Right.
Right. And so then I'm able to focus in on recreating this experience. And I believe that's one of the reasons we don't have more live albums, is because when they're recorded, they're not recorded as live albums. They're recorded as studio albums.
It's a studio album, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, who wants to listen to that? I want to be able to sit down in front of 2 speakers and experience the stereo image that everybody else experiences. Be able to close my eyes and go, I'm here. I see it. The guitarist is over there to my right, right? I know the drummer is to my left, right? I know the bassist is slightly to my right.
Well, I'm gonna take it a step further in what you're saying. And this is across multiple genres. When I say this, I think another reason there's not as many live albums because there's not as many true to form live bands anymore. And what I mean by that is, think back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, very early 80s. There were full-on live bands. It wasn't singers or group with band accompaniments. It was full-on live bands. Like you were the band. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we talk about Earth, Wind & Fire, but there's Earth, Wind & Fire. There's Chicago. You know what I'm saying? The Stone, like when Stones in their primes, the Beatles in their primes. Like they were full-on bands. You know what I'm saying? And now it's more band accompaniment. Like I'm gonna bring this band with me. Right. You get what I'm saying?
So they're still live band. They're just not live featured bands.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's but that's what I mean. Like it's not. They're not the live band. They're a band that's part of like Mint Condition. Mint Condition isn't really Mint Condition anymore. Mint Condition is now on tour with Toni Braxton as her backup band after they perform their 4 or 5 songs before she goes on. Right. You get what I'm saying?
I think it's so like. I mean, there's still bands like going around doing like, especially in the rock scene. They're still out there doing their shows, but I think a major distinction to be made is that these bands, their primary focus isn't performing. Their primary focus is recording an album.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And so they're not sitting there with like the mindset of this is a show that's. Again, this is an assumption. I can't say this for sure, but it seems like when they're out there playing a show, they're trying to recreate what they did in the studio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas back then, the studio was
secondary.
The album was secondary.
Yeah. Right. The performance was primary. Now it's the opposite.
Which is kind of where it's interesting that music nowadays, like we were kind of talking about this a few days ago, but. Where artists aren't getting paid as much per album or per song played or whatever as they did in the past, and so now they're having to perform out. They're having to tour to make any money.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see if they figure out like if we perform music for the crowd instead of for the crowd who's listened to our CD. It'd be interesting to see like if that could.
It's funny because in the early, the 60s, the 70s, and even in the early part of the 80s, if you wanted to be a successful entertainer, right, not a singer, entertainer, because everybody was under that same bracket, you had to be a triple threat, right? You had to be able to sing, dance, and act, right? And we got into the late 80s and 90s where we were like, oh, okay, there's enough people consuming the content now that you can just be a singer, you can just be an actor, or you can just be a dancer. And dancers were able to make, decent salaries just being dancers. Like what's his name? Wade Robson was a prime example. He was just a dancer, right? Made lots of money. But there was a diminishing returns on that when people began to see that they could only be one or the other, even though those people that were the entertainers in the early 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s, even though a lot of them were triple threats, they never had to display their other talents for mass consumption, right? But now we're getting to a point where the industry's not demanding it. Your paycheck is demanding that you be a triple threat, right? Because you can't make enough money just being one or the other, right? You can't just be a dancer. You can't just be a singer, and you can't just be an actor. You have to be a triple threat unless you have the pedigree to support it. And, it's just funny how we've come full circle to an industry now that needs true talent,
Oh yeah.
right?
You got Bruno Mars and Beyonce and
It's
T
you
Swift.
you have
Yeah.
to be.
Kanye.
You have to either be top 25 in one, or you have to be top 50 in all three.
I don't even think top 25 is accurate. I think top 10. You have to be top 10 in one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's closer. I think you need to be top 10 in one or top 25 in all three. Now,
Well, okay, let me ask. I'll put it this way. What do you consider acting when you say acting? And then I'm asking so then I can come back with my reason why I say top 25. What do you consider acting? Like an actual movie or a TV show? Or would you consider doing a commercial?
I would say more like emceeing or talking to the crowd, like interacting with the crowd. Because back in the day, you had, like back in 1920s, 1930s, you had like the Rat Pack Cats that were dancing and they were singing and they were like telling jokes and like interacting with the
they were
but they did movies too. That's what I'm saying. When you said acting, that's why I want to make sure I understand your definition, because when you said that, my thoughts were thinking of like Nicholas Brothers, Dorothy Dandridge, Harry Belafonte. You see what I'm saying? When you said dancing, music, and acting triple threat, that's why I made the comment I made, was based on when you say acting, that's what they did. You know what I'm saying? They did actual movie acting.
But what I'm talking about is actual movie acting, actual TV show acting, right?
Because the reason I said you have to be top 25 in one is because, using an example, I'm not saying he top 25, but a perfect example. Shit. Not Lil Uzi Vert, the other one. They call him Lil Boat. What's his Lil Yachty? Lil Yachty? Lil Yachty, right?
Lil Yachty.
Okay, so Lil Yachty, for purposes of this part of the conversation, saying he's in top 25 in his rap hip hop genre, right? He doesn't do actual movie acting, but he made it $11 million from Sprite for 2 commercials.
That's promotional though. That's not.
That's why I was asking. That's why I was saying, like,
those are spokesperson roles.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
But that's what I meant by being. But because of where he was in his thing,
and commercials aren't the same as what they used to be. Because remember, like Orlando Jones started his acting career in a 7-Up commercial.
Right, but that's why I asked.
saying?
But that's why I asked, because I wanted to define it based on my reason for saying that was that.
But in that time period, in the late 90s, that was when he did the 7-Up Yours, right?
Yeah.
They had real actors acting in those commercials.
Right.
You know, now it's just people, visually playing roles, which isn't, true acting.
They're being themselves in a different context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't really have like true actors anymore. People that switch roles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have the what's his name? The Christopher Walkens or the. We still, we got Denzel Washington, but we don't have any new Denzels.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any. What's your boy's name? Looks like the best supporting actor of all time. Was it Anthony Hopkins?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have like that Anthony Hopkins anymore. You know what I'm saying? And those are the people that like literally switched roles when they got a new role. You know what I mean? We got blessed with what's his name that did Titanic?
Leonardo DiCaprio. That is the amazing actor, one of the best of our generation. You see what I'm saying? Like, but we don't have a lot of those. Mm-hmm.
But back then, they had a lot of those people that had to they had to switch roles based on what movie they were in. You know what I mean? You look back at some of those old 50 movies. One of my favorites was like An American in Paris with like Gene Kelly. He was singing, dancing, and acting all in that one film.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right there alongside of Audrey Hepburn. Singing, dancing, acting right there in that one film, displaying all those talents. And the reason I say now you got to be top 10 in order to be successful, just being able to do one is because of the onset of YouTube, right? YouTube made your content easier to consume before. It also opened up the availability for people to see your content, right? So
the broadband, like it's extremely, you get a lot. I mean, where then you had hundreds, maybe, performers going for that piece of the pie. Now you've got thousands, if not
Hundreds
millions.
of thousands. Yeah.
Well, that's
So
the thing.
you have to
Before
be-
you had hundreds of thousands too,
Yes,
but
you
you had no idea about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Now everybody's got a voice,
Yeah.
and you get to pick them. So
Yeah.
now I think you need to be top 10 to get picked,
Yeah.
because it's not about one or two people to impress anymore. That's in like a CEO role, that's gonna pick you. Now it's the public. Now you've got 7 billion people
Right.
that's judging you.
Yeah, because the CEO picks you
Yeah.
based up on the millions of people who follow you.
Now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now,
Now, before those couple of peoples, that boardroom had to pick who's going to be famous.
Which
More
that's
so,
why.
who is going to make them the most money?
Who's going to make them the most
Which is
money?
I don't know if you remember. That's why I said a few back. I said about the death of the A&R, because the new A&R is social media.
True.
That's the new A&R.
True.
They make or break you. They decide how many followers you have. Decides if that
Right.
studio or that
Right.
record label or whatever is going to pick you up.
Right. They don't hire the same level of PR anymore. You gotta do your own PR, right? And then they find out whether or not you're close to a tipping point. You know what I'm saying, on your pages and everything. You know what I'm saying? You've got to be a marketer out here. Now the triple threat is kind of changed. You got to be I call it the double triple, right? You got to be the singer, dancer, actor, but you also have to be the promoter, marketer, businessman. Like before, you like, oh, I just hired somebody to do this. You know what I mean? But now, social media has made it to where, like, if you're hiring somebody to do that, they robbing you. They're robbing you. You know?
Dane Cook.
Shit, Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Super finger.
you see his brother-in-law stole all his money, and then got caught and refused to give it back. So I think he's out now. He had 10 years in prison, and he's out, and he's got all that money hidden somewhere.
Wow.
Dane Cook never got it back.
Wow.
That's that bull. That's that.
Wow.
bull.
Nonsense. But yeah, different times, man. That's why I like those old 50 movies, bro. That's why I like them.
And Mary Poppins.
Have you
y'all.
seen a picture of Shirley Temple Black?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you never seen the movie?
is she still around?
With Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, he did the, like, didn't he do the what you call it with the Shirley Temple? The new one?
No, you talking about Annie?
Annie, yeah.
Oh no.
Oh.
No, he's literally talking about Shirley Temple.
Oh.
But like, yeah, she is.
Cause I'm about to say,
She's still around?
is she black?
No. She married oh no, she passed away a few years ago.
Wait, I don't understand what we're looking at. Why do you say Shirley Temple black?
He's talking about, that's her name.
Do you not remember Shirley Temple?
Yeah, I remember Shirley Temple. I didn't.
Right.
So her last name was really black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
She got married.
So yeah,
I was thinking like I think we was talking about ethnicity, and that's why I was like the movie Annie with the black girl with Jamie Foxx. That's where I got lost at.
No, that's why I was like, no, man, he's talking about Shirley. That's why I just corrected you. I didn't know you. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea.
She was ambassador to Czechoslovakia, chief of protocol for the United States. Oh, and the ambassador to Ghana. She married a Ghanaian guy, I think.
Huh? That's dope.
She got her a straight up African.
Yeah. She said, "Give me that." Never mind. We all know what she said.
Yeah.
Electro.
What? What?
Message. And outro.
And with that, since all of the statements I just previously made have simply been trumped, we're out.
Trump.
What are you doing? You gonna break it?
Trump.
Is that the outro?
Yeah.
Tra-da-da-dum.
No.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't go at all with
Anything
you were
else?
saying.
You know what we should do for this outro though?
Harmonize.
We should sing the outro out, bro. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, you know what?
I have no idea what you're talking
The
about.
song that never ends.
Hey.
we're not doing that.
It just goes on and on again. Some
Why did I know you were gonna whip it?
started singing, knowing what it was, and then they kept
So
on singing
because
it.
there's no camera today,
It is the
I'm
song
gonna
that
narrate what is actually happening. We went from the song that never ends to the whip, and then the nay, and then we started beatboxing it.
Who whipped
right?
the nay-nay?
Art with the nay. I'm just letting you know that.
I just whipped, sir. There's no.
There was no
nay-nay.
nay. There was no nay.
Yeah.
There was no nay.
Soldier Boy. Ooh. No.
Boom, 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 boom.
Hey.
You. Somebody's supposed to be Soldier Boy up in it.
We ain't gonna give him that much respect.
Oh my God.
He don't get that much.
Man, rational up in it. Oh, why me? Why me roll? Why me? Man, then put the kitchen on the hole. Oh, that's probably not. That's not politically correct. Anyway,
How dare you,
how dare I?
bastard?
What?
You.
Hey.
You.
Hey.
You.
Y'all don't even know the
Whoa, whoa,
wind up
whoa.
is incredible. I told y'all. Look, if y'all like the video, hit the like button. If you want to see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And of course, as always, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you get it when we drop it. All right? We out though. Deuces.